Welcome to the Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island. Free-flowing talk with a charismatic, down-to-earth host. Join Dean as he interviews and chats freely with his guests, ranging from superstar athletes to politicians, industry titans, and everyday folk with fascinating life stories. Dean educates, entertains, and most of all, touches people's lives. You're listening to the Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dean Blechman Show. Big show today, the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. Thanksgiving weekend, nothing bigger. In the studio here, in the Dean Blechman studio, is Mike Jehle, a alumni of Ohio State University. Mike, how are you?
Great. How you doing, Dean? Thank you for having me today.
Good. Going across to Los Angeles, my two special guests. Cory Charlupski. He grew up outside of Detroit. Cory, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Dean. Thank you for having me. Go Blue.
You bet. Glad to have our other guest, the stud, the legend, the great University of Michigan defensive end, Jibreel Black. How are you today, Jibreel?
I'm great, Dean. Thank you for having me. Go Blue.
I know everybody's busy in their schedule, but thanks everybody for making time during this busy week. I know that I've got my family coming in here today, my mother-in-law, everyone, my kids. It's going to be a busy time of giving thanks, and to all of you guys that are on the show today, thanks for making time. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you, to your families, to my audience out there. And we got a big show here. Nothing's bigger right now. So, let's start with Cory Charlupski, a great friend of my son Jared, alumni of Michigan, good friend of mine, grew up just outside of Detroit. His whole family went to Michigan. It was a passage of life going to University of Michigan. He lives in LA right now, and Cory is a legend in real estate, an agent with the company Douglas Element Real Estate in Beverly Hills. Going over to Jibreel Black. Jibreel Black grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. He played 4 years at Michigan from 2010 to 2013, defensive end. Jibreel beat OSU in 2011 in Brady Hoke's first year.
Sad year.
Unfortunately, he lost 3 times after that in this big game, and is currently an actor and commentator living in LA. We've got Mike Jehle here, and I'm going to let him speak to himself. Besides being an alumni of Ohio State University, Mike's here in the studio because few kids out here in Suffolk County, Long Island, really did not go to Michigan, and they didn't go to Ohio State. So Mike and his brother own an unbelievable restaurant, a little boutique restaurant, Mexican restaurant called Salsa in Port Jefferson. It's just a legendary boutique restaurant. If you love guacamole, guys, it's a staple item for Saturday's game here in the Blechman household. And quesadillas, just burritos, just incredible. So, Mike, why don't you just give a little background on your history over with Ohio State and where you grew up?
Absolutely. I grew up on Eastern Long Island in Whiting River, and attended my school in Riverhead. And I graduated in 1999, where I soon attended the Ohio State University in the spring. And I actually was going to apply to Penn State, and I didn't get into the big campus right away. I was going to be there my third year, so I wanted to go big. So there I went to Ohio State. That was my next option. And there's really nothing. I think it's pretty much one of the biggest schools, and it's definitely in the top 3 in the country. And I loved every minute of it. Right before I went to Ohio State, I started working at Salsa, like Dean said, over in 1998, and that opened in 1995. So it's been open for a long time, and it's been growing ever since.
Well, ever since I've known Mike, he's the only guy that I could speak to about this rivalry. That every time I come into Salsa, It is heavy duty Michigan, Ohio State talk. So let's
Dean,
let's
you have us salivating over here. We're ready to.
so
eat
let's
some,
let's get let's get to it. I want
Fuck.
Mike fully understands. This is I think my 36th show since I launched in July. I'm usually taking a neutral position, especially on the political world that took place this year. He knows I'm Michigan and I'm Go Blue. And guys, I'll never forget it. It was 25 years ago on this date in history. The Heisman Trophy, that run of Desmond Howard that took it to the house in the big house. That Heisman Trophy display was unbelievable. I got chills going up in my back right now, thinking of those memories. Okay, but before we get started, all I know is, guys, I want to start off saying, despite all the backroom disagreements and the dinner table debates, and one thing that's indisputable is this year, and that Ohio State, Michigan is the single most important football game that will be played over Thanksgiving this week and this weekend. I mean, what's bigger than two schools ranked 2 and 3 in the polls, Big Ten title at stake, and a spot in the college football playoff? I mean, you got Harbaugh, Urban Meyer. This game is as huge as it will get. And Mike knows it's Go Blue and it's Michigan in my blood that I'll never forget. Still to this day, my son, who's 29 now, Jared, that I'll never forget. Here's this Jibreel. Here's this kid growing up here on Long Island in suburbia, Long Island, that had his heart when he was 5-6 years old. He was talking about going to the University of Michigan. That all he did was wear the colors, the uniforms, the whole bit. And then when it came time to send in applications, the guidance counselors and all the teachers, it's too far of a reach. You're never going to get in. Your grades aren't good. Your SATs aren't good. I said, listen, for $16, put in your application. They don't accept you. Their loss. Mm-hmm. What happens? Right. A call comes into the house that you've been accepted to University of Michigan. He thought his old man was playing a joke on him. he thought it was me playing a joke on him. But the rest is history. I'll never forget those 4 years as a parent, being able to stay at the campus inn, walk that State Street, walk with 100 plus thousands of people. Now it's 115. Going the game day. Those were, Jibreel, some of the greatest years of my life that I will never forget. And I want to thank you for joining us here on the show along with Cory. Thank you. Let's get started with some Cory. Cory, what are some greatest moments or things that you want to lead into here with the show?
I'll tell a good story, Dean. My parents, it was their anniversary yesterday, November 22nd. And about 36 years ago, they were getting married. And my mom, when she booked the date, she called the rabbi. She said, I want the first available date of it that's there. She said, I forgot. I didn't realize what weekend it was going to be. My uncle went to Columbus the morning of their wedding. It was that big of a game that even though his sister was getting married that day, he was in Columbus that morning, went on a friend's private plane back to Michigan just in time for his speech at the wedding. That's how big.
Wow. Wow.
That's great. That's commitment right there.
Mike, what did you say to me when I told you that Jibreel was coming on?
I said that's great. I mean,
no, but you wanted to bring someone. Didn't you want to bring a friend of yours?
Oh yeah, Nick Mangold. I slapped him high five a couple of times. I'm a huge Jets fan. So.
You should have brought him.
I wish.
So, how about Jibreel? Any opening comments that you want to make?
Yeah, I just want to say, once again, Dean, thanks for having us. And this weekend is a awesome weekend, a testament to the hardworking coaches and players that are in the Big Ten Conference, and to have two teams at 2 and 3 and so much at stake, and have all of college football playoff world depending this game. Just being a player and a student from a Big Ten school, I'm very proud of that. And then just Michigan and seeing the success that all my younger teammates are having makes me proud, and all the hard work that they put in. And I'm going to see it all pay off this Saturday at 12 noon. And I'm excited about this win that we're about to get because we're very prepared and very focused.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you a chance, Mike. Now, is there anything that you before I get into really the heart that I want to really hit on this show? Is there anything memories that you would like to bring up?
I attended every home football game. Playing Michigan, I actually had a losing record when I went to school there. I attended 1999 to 2003. I stayed for an extra football season because I had to take a couple extra classes, and which was a great semester. We ended up had two wins in those 5 years and 3 losses. But going to the games was great. 2002 was probably the best game against you guys. We won. What should we call it? We won not by a lot, but it was coming down to the last, and that's when the last game before our field was going to sink to put more seats in, and we raised the outside of the stadium as well to put more seats. And everybody rushed the field, they were cutting grass with their keys and putting it in plastic bags just to save and cherish. That's how much the game meant to us, and that's when we went to the national championship and won against Miami and the double overtime there, which the controversial pass interference call can go either way. It was pretty, but I thought, that was the best game I've been to there. I never actually went up to Ann Arbor to see a Michigan game there. I didn't have enough courage to, I guess.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing you didn't go up there because you're going to see probably 100,000 T-shirts that have the letter F on it. The Buckeyes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Same goes the other way around.
I can't say the full word on this show, but trust me, you don't. And all those years, I wasn't happy about my son Jared going to Columbus. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Cory, have you ever been to Columbus for a game?
I actually went. This is something I wanted to talk about. The game day atmosphere at both Ann Arbor and Columbus for the game is so different. So I actually was lucky or unlucky. I went in 2006 when it was 1 versus 2 in the country.
Wow.
And there were literally snipers on the rooftops of buildings. There were armored cars in the streets, 10 plus police officers at every street corner. There were tents set up with magistrates ready to arraign people on the spot. I have never seen anything like it. It was, I think, in Ann Arbor, it's a little bit more of I'd say a quiet cockiness. In Columbus, I'd say it's a little bit more of an angry cockiness. They were prepared for all-out warfare, but I'll tell you, the game day atmosphere was pretty incredible. It was intense.
Yeah.
Well, let me just add to what Cory's saying as a fan and a father, of an undergraduate student at Michigan. That I'm glad that Cory's bringing up 2006 because this weekend, Saturday, is the closest that. 2006. I look at Jibreel. I think you didn't come till 2010. I look at 2006, and as we approach this Saturday's unbelievable game, that game was the hit that basically broke my heart. Michigan versus Ohio State, 2006. It was a great year to be a Michigan fan. Team was strong as ever. You had Lloyd Clark, legendary coach, coming to the end of his career. Ron English, I remember, being the defensive coach. You had the great Mike Hart and Chad Henne. Michigan was 11-0 at that time. They were number 2 in the country. All Michigan had to do was beat the Buckeyes, and they could have headed to the national championship. A day before, on top of it, the legendary great coach Bo Schembechler died a day before. And here I am once again back in 2006, like many of these great Michigan-Ohio State rivalry games. You had the quarterback. Troy Smith was rolling out. There must have been about 7.5 minutes left in that game. He's rolling out. Okay, thought Michigan had it. He throws to the end, and what happens? Linebacker Sean Crable, late hit flag, and the rest is history. Ever since that monumental 2006 game, okay, and these games have gone on for many years. Okay, when it came to this event, it's been stomach pains, cramps. I mean, my wife Sharon, at the end of these games has to say to me, Dean, relax. You don't have a kid on the team. Just relax.
High blood pressure.
I mean, it's just amazing. It Jibreel and Cory, it could take I don't know. Cory, you were at that game, I think I remember, right?
It was. I mean, it would. Yeah. And Sean Crable actually had 2 personal fouls that extended 2 drives. So it was, one was questionable, and you're making me relive a nightmare here. But it was. It was one of the craziest events I've ever experienced. It was heartbreaking. Like you said with Sharon, my now wife Erin, who I met when I was a student at Michigan. I mean, when Michigan loses, it's like she's afraid for me to come home, really. In college football now, every game means so much. That 2006 game, which is, similar to how things are playing out now, even when Michigan lost, there was a game later that night on prime time. UCLA played USC, and UCLA was a big underdog. SC was projected to go play Ohio State in the national championship, and UCLA got an interception on a tip ball. You should have heard our frat house then. I mean, it was rocking. We thought we were going to, go even with one loss with a rematch against Ohio State. And, you're seeing some of the same play out here depending on the outcome and, what happens with Penn State, what happens with Michigan and Ohio State. So, there's a lot on the line, but it's in their hands. If they win this game, there's a good chance they're in.
I mean, Cory, for you being a spectator and a student and a fan at that game, I mean, you could really break it down how that game in 2006 really compares to this Saturday's game.
Yeah, I mean, it's, even though it was 1-2 in 2006, I have to be honest, this game feels bigger to me. Yeah. I mean, like you said, Jibreel's nodding over here. Like you said, that game was kind of the end of an era. It was Chad Henne was on his way out, and Mike Hart was on his way out. We had linemen on their way out, and Coach Carr. This game is, they're calling it the start of the new 10-year war. Urban Meyer and Jim Harbaugh, other than, Nick Saban, are 2 of the best 3 recruiters, minds, people that are not just in college football, but in football, some of the most respected people out there. So this game is really the start to me. Last year was Jim's first year. This game really symbolizes, the start of what the next 10 to 15 years could look like. Michigan has serious athletes on their team. Ohio State, even though they lost a lot of players to the NFL, the athletes on their team are top notch. Just look at Curtis Samuel and what he can do, and look at Jibreel Peppers and what he can do. But I mean, this game is bigger. It's the same thing on the line. We didn't have the college football playoff then. 2 versus 3, 1 versus 2. It doesn't make a difference. Winning, you're in.
I didn't expect to be this good this year, Ohio State. With, like you said, with all the players going to the NFL, and I'm very shocked of what they recruited. Like you said, they have great recruitment classes, both teams, and it's going to be great.
I mean, gentlemen, listen to this fact. I looked at these rosters of both these teams. That the last time, and Jibreel, correct me if I'm wrong here, Cory and Mike, but I looked at the rosters, and I see an interesting fact here that the last time that Michigan won in Columbus, that the freshmen collectively on each one of these teams had to be 2 to 3 years old at that time.
Holy
yeah,
cow.
no,
that's what's amazing. That's setting up for this Saturday. And guys, Jibreel and Cory, I do not want to get that damn nauseous feeling.
No, I mean
when it comes 3-4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here in Setauket, Long Island, I don't want to have that vomitosis, nauseous feeling that I've been feeling all these years. It's got to be, we got to win and bring it home.
I get it every time I see the commercial on ESPN. They will play it all for the last 2 weeks. The game of the year. It's gonna happen.
So
it's a must win for us.
Us
you know,
too,
Michigan is for Jim Harbaugh. I think this is just knowing his personality and knowing what type of coach he is. After the loss last year, Jim went back to the office and created a playbook specifically for this game, and he's been keeping it in his safe in his bedroom, waiting for this game. He gave the combination to his wife. He said, "Don't give me this combination until it's game day, until it's game week." So I know Harbaugh is going to come out and throw the kitchen sink at Urban Meyer and that defense, and we're going to see a whole bunch of formations and a whole different array of schemes that we haven't seen all year. So I'm excited, but I'm not nervous because just the personality of Jim Harbaugh, I think, is going to really show. I mean, if you look at the past 2 games, it's been really conservative, setting up for a surprise, So I'm not as nervous as I was in the past 2 years. I'm very, very confident coming into this game.
what do you know of both their personalities, Jim Harbaugh and Urban Meyer? What are they like? What are they like Friday night before this game?
Urban is more. That's when he starts to, really emotionally get involved with the rivalry and everything. All week during the press, he's super calm. But as soon as Michigan shows up into the city, they hold their pep rally every Friday before the big game. And Urban is known to get really emotional and really say some, start his trash talk about Michigan. I know last time we played there, he went on a rant and started crying and everything in front of the students. And, he gets really crazy. I see Jim approaching this game as kind of like a hitman almost. I mean, he's been waiting and plotting, I think, since the recruiting. I don't know. I mean, that's the type of guy Harbaugh is. Like, he's been sending messages. I mean, when you beat a team, you see Ohio State beat Rutgers 56 or 58-0, and then you purposely put up 78 points. That's 20. That's 20 more points than Ohio State. So he's been sending
messages,
subconscious warfare at Urban Meyer this whole time.
So Jibreel, let me ask you this, since you know the two of them, put them in Madison Square boxing, put them in a boxing match at Madison Square Garden, full crowd, 19,000 people. How's that boxing match with Urban Meyer and Jim Harbaugh going to go, and what's the outcome? What's your prediction?
I see Harbaugh first round going a little Ali with a rope a dope, and then I see second and third round Harbaugh wants to warm the ribs up, so he's gonna go to the grill, warm the ribs up on Urban, let Urban get some punches in, get him a little excited, knock him out in the 4th round. We go home.
Sounds like a 4-quarter match.
4 quarters.
Cory, there's someone else from Ohio State that grew up in Belmore, Long Island. I want to mention him. He's become from an acquaintance to a very good friend, and he wants to come on this show in the future when we do this every year. And I told him it doesn't have to wait this week to do it. But Andrew Markinson, a big Ohio State guy, graduated in 2009. I think you know Andrew, don't you?
Yeah, Andrew's a good friend. We actually stayed with Andrew when we were in Columbus. And for those of you who don't know Andrew, he also pretty much looks like a bodyguard. So he's like a personal bodyguard. He's a nice guy. So we felt safe in Columbus. But what's interesting was in that 2006 game, all the students got a letter from the president of the University of Michigan basically saying what not to do in Columbus. And it literally said, don't drive a car with Michigan license plates. Don't park your car on certain streets. Take all bumper stickers off your car. So that's what they were preparing us for. And, Andrew made us feel nice and safe. He's a good host until up about game time.
I mean, when we pull up in Columbus that Friday evening, we do a walkthrough at the field. And, we got our Michigan policemen there on their motorcycles, and they rock the wing helmet. So they know we're in town, and everybody instantly stops and makes sure they give us the birdie, and they flick us off. They flicking off our bus, especially when we pull up to the stadium, they have to block off the streets, and you just see people coming out of nowhere, screaming all types of crazy things. And
my brother had a beer bottle thrown at him.
yeah, I mean,
It wasn't me.
I'll tell you, you were just Dean. You were just talking about Jim Harbaugh. When I was preparing for this, I called a good friend of both Jibreel and mine, who Jibreel played with, named Elliot Mueller. He played center for Michigan, and he didn't get drafted in the NFL, but he had a tryout for the 49ers. And he called a friend of his who had been in contact with Jim Harbaugh, who named Patrick Omame, who was also an offensive lineman, and I believe won a Super Bowl with the Broncos.
Yeah, well, Schofield.
Oh, right.
Schofield.
Right.
Yeah.
So Elliot called Patrick Omame and said, "How is this going to be? What's Jim Harbaugh like? Are we gonna meet him?" And Patrick said, "It's just a basic walkthrough. He just wants to see us go through some drills, and measure us, run a little bit, and that's it." They get to the workout in Ann Arbor. Jim Harbaugh's on the sideline with his offensive line coach, puts him to a 2.5, 3 hour conditioning drill where the two offensive linemen are just trading the bag back and forth and pushing each other. He said he's never had a tryout, a practice, anything like that in his life. That's just
wow. Cory, that's a great story. That's terrific. I want to just set up the audience. I think the audience, I think people that really didn't have children over the years that had a chance to attend a Big Ten school like Ohio State or University of Michigan, go to Columbus, go to Ann Arbor, go to any of the Big Ten schools. I think anyone across the world. I mean, I know there might be some people that differ from me, but I'm a New York boy. My kids grew up here on Long Island, New York. I mean, you know how big the Yankees and the Mets are, and the Jets and the Giants. But my experience, that I want my audience to really understand the culture, the phenomenon that goes on with these two schools. And this rivalry is, I put it bigger. I know people are going to disagree with me in the sports world, whether it be a collegiate or in the pros at any different sports level. But I really, truly put the rivalry of Michigan versus Ohio State bigger than over those years of New York Yankees and Red Sox. I mean, just incredible.
I mean, it's called the game for a reason. And this weekend, number 2, Ohio State versus number 3, Michigan. I mean, this is the game in itself, and it's so much riding on this game, and this is the way it's going to be for the next however long Harbaugh stays at Michigan and however long Urban stays at Ohio is going to be this way, because a lot is going to be riding in November at the end of the Big Ten season, when these two juggernauts take it on the field. I mean, this is all stakes. All your chips are in the bag. Recruiting is on the line. Playoff berth is on the line. National championship, Big Ten championships. I mean, this is championship football.
Doesn't get any bigger.
Yeah. Nope.
It doesn't get any bigger.
Dean, the difference, one of the biggest differences, I think, and I've had this, talk with my cousins who grew up in Boston, who say Yankees, Red Sox is bigger. I've learned this a lot since I've moved to LA. People move, their pro teams change, their cities change. And, that would never happen to a Cory Charlupski, a Jibreel Blackman, a Jamie Yakow. We love our home teams. But your college allegiance never changed. Like I've always will say I went to the University of Michigan. Jibreel Black always went to the University of Michigan. Mike and Andrew Markinson, they always went to Ohio State. And every year, there's 40,000 more people that can say, this is where we went. When you're watching a professional sports game and you say, we went for it on 4th down, or we went for it on 3rd down. That's not the same as when you're watching a college game and you're saying we. Because when you went to college, you're really we. Like, I went to class with a lot of Jibreel's teammates, and my brother went to class with Jibreel's teammates.
It's a family.
It's a family. So, the allegiance is deeper, that, that'll never, ever change. That never leaves you.
Yeah, when you say you bleed those school colors, you really do. And,
any kid, undergraduate, that has the opportunity to attend the University of Michigan has to be pretty bright and pretty special to be able to attend it.
We call those Michigan men, Dean. We call those Michigan men.
And I'm telling you that Mike knows when I walk into Sauce in Port Jefferson, Long Island, he knows I walk in with my Michigan sweatshirt and I walk in with my M on the hat.
Yep.
Everywhere I go, people go, are you a coach for Michigan? Are you a recruiter?
And the first time you came in there, Dean, I was like, oh no.
I wear it, I bleed it. So it's just unbelievable. So Jibreel, I've got to ask you, we got the big game coming up. You experienced it for 4 years. I've got to ask you, as a player, whether this game that's coming up this weekend, whether it's played at home or away in Columbus, please share with me and the audience, what is it like on that game day to run through the tunnel onto the field?
Well, you're giving me the chills,
man. Let me set this up perfect for you. Like I said, the bus ride. You're leaving the hotel. We have a meeting. It's everyone, coaching staff, all the players. We have a meeting in the hotel lobby together, and the head coach addresses the team, and it's the final coaching tips and final graces and everything. And your coach would say something along the lines of, this is why you come to the University of Michigan. This is why you decided to join this side of the rivalry, because a lot of times, a lot of the players on the team are from Ohio. Yeah. And he addressed the team, and then we hop on the bus. On the way over, if we're in Columbus, you're just driving through a sea of scarlet and gray.
Amazing.
A lot of hate is being spewed at your bus. A lot of times people are throwing, fruit or bottles at the bus. And you're getting that police escort, and it's real presidential, and 2 motorcycles in the front. You got 2 police cars cutting off and blocking streets and, moving the crowds out the streets and out the intersection. And then you finally pulling up to the Horseshoe. And it's just this, beautiful stadium. It sits above the ground. It's like so many stories high. It goes as far as the eye can see up. And, the scarlet and gray sea just kind of parts ways as the Michigan motorcade comes through. And, you go into the locker room and everybody kind of looks at each other's face and like, this is it. I mean, this is the rivalry we've watched documentaries on. This is the rivalry Woodson played in. This is the passage to greatness. And as you're putting on your equipment, if you're on the defensive side of the ball, you're looking at your defensive brothers and, you're looking at them like, we prepared for this, we're ready to go. But you don't say that. You just look at each other's face and you can feel it. And it's a lot of nonverbal communication going on, but it's still a excitement in the air. And then as the strength coach comes in and he says, all right, 5 minutes.
Wow.
Then that's when it sets in. So 5 minutes meaning we go out in 5 minutes. At the 2-minute mark, that's when we all huddle up and we say a little prayer. And we say the Our Father. And we all say that prayer. And then coach addresses the team again. Says something along the lines, this is why we came here. It's game time. The hay is in the barn. You know what you got to do. Do your job. Stay focused. Don't let the excitement make you play other than yourself. Don't let the hype, the hoopla, don't let that make you play, outside the game. Meaning, don't get any crazy penalties. Stay focused, do your job, and play hardcore Michigan football. So then we leave the tunnel, and the fans, they tower above us. They're like almost 15 stories high. They want to spit on you. They want to do anything they possibly can to get in your head those 15 seconds they have. Anything, whether it's pouring beer on you or whatever. So we have security guards lined up on the side of us looking up, making sure nobody does anything. So we're paralleled and ranked by 2 security guards, men in blue, on the side of us, and all white, just walking down the middle of it with that wing helmet. And then we're approaching the field. You hear the click clack of everybody's cleats, and you run out onto that field and you just hear a storm of boos, like boo, and it's the most euphoric feeling in the sense that this whole stadium hates you, but you got your brothers to depend on, and you all are in it together. You got 85 men, coaching staff, coaches' wives, all leading up to this moment. And that kickoff, it kind of all just, you're able to finally breathe once that ball is kicked off, and like, all right, let's go. Let's do what we practiced and what we worked on all year, all summer, all winter, all spring. It's finally coming together. And that's in essence, that's what they're going to be feeling coming into Saturday. And you're going to have to look at, the Jibreel Peppers. You're going to have to look at the Jordan Lewises, the Chris Wormleys, the Ryan Glasgows, the Amar Darballs, the J.U. Chessons, the Will Spates. You're going to have to look into their eyes as young guys and, fall on their shoulders. And it's going to be a beautiful thing to see which team comes together and, really overcomes all the hype, 2 versus 3, playoff contention, Big Ten contention, national championship contention. Who's going to be the number 1 contender coming out of the Big Ten? Michigan. It's going to be us.
I got to tell you this, Jibreel, that about 10 minutes ago when you were articulating some history there and talking about some history of the game. Mike here in the studio took a deep breath. He started to break a sweat on his forehead. And then his smile and personality turned to a smile and euphoria right at the time that you were describing what that scenic moment is, pulling up by the bus pulling up to Columbus at the Horseshoe. Then he was all smiles on his face, Mike.
It's a beautiful place, isn't it?
But there was one moment that you were getting him sick to his stomach there. I could see on his face. But listen, I've got to ask you, Jibreel. I've got to ask you that as a player coming out to those boos, do you hear those sounds? Do you hear the boos or not?
Oh yeah, I mean, you definitely hear the boos. You definitely hear the.
I think it's being there in 06. I think it's impossible.
Yeah, it's so loud.
Any athlete that says they block anything out, you can't block that out.
Well, as you know, Cory, a very good friend of mine who I think, let's see, in my time frame, different sport, but not only one of the greatest athletes of all time, I consider, but the greatest, in my time, greatest baseball all time. A great friend of mine, Barry Bonds, that I used to, on the West Coast, attend. I'd attend his games, and I'd travel with him, and we'd go into Chevis Ravine in Dodger Stadium, and you go to games, and 50,000 people were booing at him, and he told me he never hears the sound.
Yeah, once you're playing, you don't hear it, but when you're running out for the first time, you definitely hear it because you're taking everything in. But once the ball is kicked off, once your offense is on the field, I talk to a lot of, they don't hear it. And then actually a lot of offensive players, they feed off of that. They love the boos playing away. I used to love playing away in the other Big Ten stadiums more than I did playing home, because to hear a whole stadium just people just hating you, and especially playing at East Lansing and Penn State in Ohio. I mean, it's fun. But, being home is like comfort. Like, it's no place like home, of course. But being away is so much fun, too.
Okay, well, let's bring Cory and Mike into this a little bit. I've got to ask them, Cory, all-time top 5 Michigan players, without obviously putting Jibreel in that mix.
Wow.
All-time top 5 Michigan players.
I'll go with, I've been around since 1987, probably been to every home game until I moved to LA when I was about 5 or 6 years old. So I'll go on the spot, maybe a little bit before I really could understand everything. I mean, Desmond Howard is one of the greats. Charles Woodson, Braylon Edwards, What he did against both Michigan State and Ohio State was terrific. This might be a little off the radar, but one of my favorite players and most dominant players I remember when I went to Michigan was Alan Branch. Alan Branch was a defensive tackle. He's still playing now for the Patriots. I mean, he not only was the nicest guy off the field, but he was the meanest guy on it. And one of my favorite memories of him was that same '06 year we played on the road in Penn State at night, another hostile environment. And Alan Branch has not one, but two Muhammad Ali pictures, standing over injured Penn State quarterbacks. That's 4, 5. Wow. Maybe for everything he did and how good he was in the records he set. Another player I was lucky to see, Mike Hart. Mike Hart was terrific.
Great player. How about you, Mike? Do you have 5 great players of all time, Ohio State?
That's hard to come by. Let's see. I'm gonna go definitely Nick Mangold's up there for sure. And now that I see him in the NFL, I got Jets season tickets, and I see him all the time coming off that bus and heading into the stadium. It's a pretty cool thing. I wear my Ohio State shirt, so he knows I went to Ohio State, and not in the same year, of course, but that's awesome. And I also like AJ Hawk. He's a great defensive player. And also Terrell Pryor as quarterback. I liked him. He was had great execution. He was fast on his feet. He's like a gazelle out there, just very graceful. He didn't even look like he was running fast. He just so graceful down the field. What is that? That's 3. I liked Mike Doss. He's a defensive player as well. When he was there when I was there, and remember his name always coming into play. He was always around the ball, and Laurinaitis is up there as well. He just graduated probably a couple of years ago, and I'm into big defensive players. You see that. It's 4 out of 5.
Some good players you guys mentioned. Mike,
none of your Heisman Trophy guys? Come on.
Jibreel, go ahead. You can go on, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I want to.
Sometimes I don't pick the top. You gotta go in the middle.
Get Mike going,
they're
man.
they're
I'm
my
telling
favorite.
you. He could, trust me, for game day, that classic staple item in our house, that guacamole and salsa and burritos, man. He could ship some. He could ship some to L.A.
Yeah.
I said at the beginning, you were making us salivate over the food. We want to eat his food and roast some Buckeyes.
Now, Mike, do you put the? Now I was out in Arizona over the summer, and I went to a restaurant, and they put pomegranates in the avocados.
Oh wow!
And it was amazing.
I never heard that before.
Yeah. So if you want to try it out, it was delicious. They mix it up, with your onions and all your other vegetables you throw in there.
Yeah.
But then they topped it off with some some pomegranates, and then they mixed it up, and it didn't last for it only lasted 10 seconds.
Wow, that sounds really good. Sometimes we mix mango or pineapple in there.
Ooh.
But I gotta tell my brother about the
pomegranate. You didn't know you were having a cooking show today.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm telling you, it's great food. It's sauce. It'll be here in the house for the game day.
But I want to. Jibreel was mentioning something that I thought was interesting when you asked him about what the rivalry meant to him. When I was talking to Elliot Mueller again, when I asked him, I asked him the same question. Just describe the rivalry, and there were 4 things he said that stuck out to me. 1. He said it's not healthy how serious he took the rivalry. And I think players on both sides, they'll say every week, we're leading up one game at a time. Today's a championship game. But, Jibreel was saying it's different. He said, the rivalry was tough to put into words. He said he still hardly sleeps Ohio State week. And then he said when he was a kid growing up, and, a few of the players I mentioned of all-time Michigan greats were Ohio kids. Jibreel Black is an Ohio kid. Charles Woodson, Desmond, Elliot Mueller. He said right now in schools in Ohio, in between classes, after the bell rings, they play Ohio State music.
Yeah, a little girl got sent home for wearing a Michigan T-shirt. She was like in 3rd grade, and they sent her home, man.
Listen,
they sent her home, Dean. I don't know.
Listen, Cory, growing up outside of Detroit, listen, I've been asked to ask you how much, Cory, Do you hate Mike Weber for leaving his home state, leaving of his home state and moving on to from Michigan to OSU?
Yeah, it's I have it right here in front of me. I wrote down a couple notes for today, and one of them in big says at the top, it says recruiting. And this is such a big recruiting weekend, and I have Detroit listed right there because it is so important for Michigan. Michigan was the king of, the King High School, the Cass Tech High School, the big Detroit high schools. Those players didn't think twice. And that changed a little bit the last few years. With Jim Harbaugh, you're seeing a little bit, not a little bit, a lot of a push back to that direction. Players last year that were in the same boat, like Lavert Hill, who's going to be a stud cornerback.
Yeah, they're saying he's just like
Jordan he's better than Jordan Lewis even. He chose Detroit. When Mike Weber did it, here's the way to put it. You look at Ohio State's recruiting class right now for next year, 2017. It's single-handedly, if they sign all the players committed right now, the best recruiting class that there will ever be in college football. And people say, why isn't Jim Harbaugh, why doesn't Michigan have those 5 stars right now? And it's simple. We haven't won those championships yet. Mike Weber wanted to go to a place where they had that. Do we see that coming soon?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Those decisions are going to be a lot harder for a kid from Detroit to make. And I'll tell you what, I hope Rashawn Gary, I hope Mo Hurst. Mo Hurst does the little belly rub when he hits a guy. I hope he does a lot of belly rubs when he hits Mike Weber.
Yeah. I heard Mike Weber say he's excited to play against his old Cass Tech teammates. And, Cass Tech, huge shout out to them, man, and the coach over there. They produce nothing but great kids and, great athletes, and having the privilege to play with a whole bunch of Cass Tech guys. They take pride in the best Cass Tech players going to Michigan because their coach went to Michigan. And so Cass Tech, amazing school. I think they play in the state championship this year. So shout out to Cass Tech.
So are you saying, Cory, that it's kind of the Mike Weber situation is similar to how Ohio State University fans hate Desmond Howard and Charles Woodson because they left their home state of Ohio for Michigan? Is it pretty similar?
Yeah, I think it's similar. When they were choosing, where to go to school, it was, the statistics and the win percentages were the other way around. One of the things I did was I looked up the records in the last few years, basically since the mid-'70s. And this goes back to your point, Dean, about, why is this rivalry bigger? And a lot of people say, it's not a rivalry because Michigan hasn't won in a while, but it's actually been pretty cyclical. It hasn't been too often where it's, every other year it goes one way. From 75 to 2000, Michigan was 17-7-1. And, that's what those guys like Desmond Howard saw, and that's what Charles Woodson saw. And the amazing thing is, even, with one-sided nature of the rivalry back and forth, is it's still stood the test of time. So, I don't buy it when people say it's not a rivalry anymore, as big as others.
Mike wouldn't say that.
Mike wouldn't say that. And, we're about to see a real interesting stretch with Harbaugh and Meyer.
Yeah.
Let's. I've got something to say straight ahead right here to Mike Jehle. Okay, I want you guys to hear it. Always raising my kids. I always said give love, be respectful. If no one hurt you or hurt your family, always be good. Always be good and be respectful to people. But part of this Ohio State history that really just grabbed at my gut. Tortured me, okay? He never did anything to hurt me. He never hurt my family, never hurt me. But you know what? I couldn't stand that guy, Jim Tressel, when he walked that sideline. There was something about that guy that really just tore at my gut. Tressel. There was just something I didn't like about that guy.
I loved him.
Okay, what do you guys think of that, Jibreel and Cory?
Tressel, it was weird, man. Especially, I was actually watching the 30 for 30 with Maurice Clarett. And, it was something about him. And I think it is still something about him, that vest and that, he looked like a manager for McDonald's on the sideline every Saturday. But,
people.
He was a great coach, and he's a legend in Ohio.
You know what makes this rivalry so special? What sports event? I mean, it was this year at a game. Cory, do you remember which game it was that they kept going to the sidelines? How often do you have three of them? You had at a Michigan game, you had the great Derek Jeter, you had Michael Jordan, and
that was the first game of the season.
And you had Charles Woodson. That's what is unbelievable. I mean, it's just epic. These teams, Michigan, University of Michigan, and Ohio State.
Yeah, and if you looked at, I don't know if you saw the signing of the stars, but Michigan put on a huge event just to announce their recruits after on signing day this last year, and it was presented by the Players Tribune. And not only did you have Jeter there, but you had Tom Brady and the entire ESPN Game Day crew and big, Jim Harbaugh's become good friends with Big Sean and Ric Flair and
Migos.
He's dabbing with Migos. It has been truly incredible. How can you not be a student or a student athlete or recruit, and these kids are sitting on stage in Ann Arbor right in between Derek Jeter and Tom Brady and say, I want to be that kid.
Devin Gardner was there. Shout out to Devin Gardner.
Amazing. Mike, I've got to ask Mike this once again. What is it about Michigan all around that you guys from Ohio State feel that there's like this stereotype of, unless you think it's real, that us people from Michigan, that we're, elitist snobs and just bad guys, What is it? What is it that, why is it that way?
I mean, I'm not quite sure. It's just the big rival. They're both in the Big Ten. They both want to be number one. It goes far back. Back in the day, Michigan was. This is going way back. I mean, Michigan was winning all the time. I think Michigan won their first 15, 20 games, where Ohio State only scored 6 points in those 20 games. So, and then it's just I don't know. They lead up to it so much on TV, and just in everybody's people like the recruiting for Harbaugh and they just, it's gonna be better for them, and they I don't know. It's I never got into said anything to a Michigan fan when it came to Ohio State. I just did my own thing, drank my beer, and I didn't really boo him or anything, because that's not me, And I know it's big, and I saw it happen all around every season, but I don't know. They just hype it up so much, and the players on that field, they hear the fans, like you said before, and it's just a great.
Well, I just want to say that if Nick Mangold is listening, we'd love to have him on the Dean Blechman show next time. And whoever besides you, Mike, that's a friend of his that knows him, please get it to Nick that Jibreel, Cory, and
absolutely,
maybe we'll have Andrew Markinson even on. I know he wants to get on the show.
That would be great. Dean, I don't know if you've seen this picture, but if you look at social media right now, or if you drive through Columbus or different cities in Ohio, you will not find one sign, one street sign, one campus sign with the letter M in it. People in Columbus literally go to every sign and either with tape or spray paint, eliminate the letter M from every single thing that they can this week. You will not see the letter M anywhere.
When we went to school there, we didn't even say your name. Everybody's like the team up north. We never said the word Michigan. Or if we type the word Michigan, we leave the vowels out. We just never type the whole thing out. It's funny.
So guys, let's why don't we set up Saturday's game? I'd like to hear from all of you how you view this and set it up, and then obviously I think we ought to have a little bit of a prediction. So how about we start? Let's save Mike Jehle for last. How about Cory? You wanna start with how you see Saturday's game setting up?
Sure. So I'll pull a Kirk Herbstreit from Game Day, because he calls the games and does not make predictions. And like Kirk, I also don't make predictions because when I do, I'm a massive jinx. So I'm just gonna lay out what I think is gonna happen in the game, and I think a lot of it's gonna depend on Michigan's running game. If you look at the two, I'd say the best teams that both teams have played, Wisconsin and Penn State. Wisconsin rushed for 236 yards against Ohio State, and Penn State 245. A lot of different plays worked for both teams. The jet sweeps, 15-yard outs on the left side of the field to the receivers. I think it's going to be a similar game. I think it's going to be one on the ground. I think it's going to be one on both sides of the trenches. An X factor for each side. I'll say Ohio State secondary. I think they're third in the nation right now with 17 interceptions. They are athletic. Wilton Spate's a little banged up. John O'Corn has one start under his belt with Michigan. I think if Ohio State wins the game, I think it's going to be because of their secondary and specifically Lattimore, their corner. For Michigan to win the game, it's going to be on the ground. I think if they get to that 200-yard mark on the ground, I think it's theirs. I think on the defensive side, they're going to attack the left side of Ohio State's line. It's a little younger. It's not as experienced. And I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a good game. Those games are usually close, and everything else gets thrown out the door. I'm excited for this one, Dean. I think as long as Michigan can run the ball, so they can set up that play action pass, I think it could be a good one.
Wow, you articulated extremely well on that. I was very impressed. It's amazing. Maybe it should be you that's in broadcasting, Cory. But I know you're a legend already out there as an agent, real estate agent at Douglas Elliman in Beverly Hills.
When I get to the booth in broadcasting and I'm doing the national championship, I promise you the first person I'll give credit for is Dean Blechman and the Dean Blechman Show.
Well, thank you. And you're welcome anytime. It doesn't have to just be the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. It could be any subject, any topic. It could be with guests, whatever. You're always welcome on the show.
I appreciate it.
But that was very impressive, your take on it. How about we go over to Jibreel? Let's hear it from Jibreel.
I do make predictions being here. Having played in the game and, seeing a lot of football and watching a lot of game film and keeping a close eye on the Buckeyes all season long, like any Michigan player would do or any fan would do. I noticed, just like Cory said, it's going to come down to the running game. And even preparing for, this game, if you look at the years of who's won, the one who leads in the rushing game has always won the game. So, and that's what I like in our favor. I mean, that's what we do. We pound the ball, we run the ball. We set up crazy formations. We get into the train and we rush up to the line of scrimmage and we run the ball. I give us the tilt there. Defense, when it comes to defense, our defense needs to play like they've been playing all year, but a little bit better. I mean, like Cory said, they're a young offensive line. Our defensive line has been, just great in getting off the ball and getting after the quarterback and stopping the run. So I give us the tilt there, and I like Jibreel Peppers versus Ohio State's running back, whoever they have, especially JT. I know Ohio, when their running game doesn't go as well, they like to start running JT. And I love Jibreel Peppers, lining up in the box and taking out JT. And I love our DBs against their receivers. So my prediction of how the game is going to go, I see our defense playing lights out away on the road, just like they did at Iowa City. And I see our offense playing like they should play, controlling the pace of the game, running the ball at will, getting those passes over top, really showing why we are the most dominant team in the country. And I see the final score being 21-3, and I'm glad you're recording this so you can draw back to it and say, hey, he made that prediction. So I see the final score 21-3, Michigan taking control of the ball, putting up 21 points, defense holding it down, and keeping Ohio State offense to very minimal production.
Jibreel, what was that score prediction?
21-3, Michigan Wolverines.
21-3?
21-3.
Wow. Cory, I don't know if you gave a score prediction.
No, I'm going to stay away from that, Dean.
Okay, we're gonna let Mike Jehle give his take on the game and his score prediction. And I do want to say to him, please, I want this to be the year that Sunday morning and that afternoon when I come to Salsa, and I have my proud sweatshirt on that I wear win or lose, and that hat on. I believe me, Saturday night, I don't want to be in a coma and just out of it, just devastated. We're gonna win. We're gonna win this game. Mike, what's your take on it?
Well, if you come on Sunday, I'll be at the Jets game, so you have to come Monday. Hopefully, I'm not wearing black at the Jets game in morning, you know. And this is definitely going to be the most hyped game that I can remember. Ohio State and Michigan, and the most nervous. Tell you the truth, I watched Michigan all year long, and like you said, they ground and pound that ball, and they had a upset against Iowa, I believe, a couple of weeks ago, and Ohio State had an upset against Penn State. And this game, I mean, like you said, it's win or out. You know, if you want to make that playoff, you got to want it. Hopefully, JT Barrett can pass the ball down the field like to Samuel over up top, and I think he runs a little bit too much. Hopefully, it's a little predictable sometimes. Hopefully, he can get some passes out, and the running back can do a lot of the job, and hopefully, we can stop the Michigan run. That's the big key. And the prediction, I think it's gonna be a little high scoring. I think it's gonna be, let's see, 35-28 Ohio State.
35-28.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, high scoring
Bucks.
game. This is the number. This is the number one defense and like the number three defense going at it. I mean, this is going to be the clash of the Titans here.
I could be wrong.
Before I give you my prediction, I just want Jibreel to just share with the audience and share with us here in the studio. I want him to really give us the scenario. What is Friday night, Friday during the day, whenever he picks his time, Jim Harbaugh, what is that locker room? What is the hotel room, wherever it takes place? But what's Jim Harbaugh like? That big meeting that takes place when he's looking his players in the eye. Give the audience an idea what that talk and that environment is, and where it's probably taking place.
Okay, as it's been told to me through some of the current players, you know, we all meet. So the hotel, the way it's set up, we pretty much have most of the rooms, most of the meeting rooms downstairs in the lobby or whatever. We have those sectioned off and designed for it to be our film room, defensive film room, and offensive film room. And then we have a team meeting room. So they're meeting in the designated team meeting room before they head out. And most of the time Harbaugh comes in there and he's very excited. You know, he lives by the motto, enthusiasm unknown to mankind. So he's excited that Hay is in the barn and it's game day. And, you know, we actually, as a team, we look forward to waking up. The wake-up time on those 12 o'clock starts is around 6 o'clock. So you waking up at 6. You can't sleep the night before. So forget about it. You know, just lay in your bed and visualize, close your eyes and meditate what you're going to do. So you're going to get downstairs around 5:45 for a walkthrough. And this is all taking place on Saturday. But that Friday, you know, you have the team movie, which is usually, you know, something relaxing, but something also kind of serious to keep your mind at ease, you know, keep you relaxed. And then, you know, you have your meal. Harbaugh addresses the team, you know, focus, visualize on what you're going to do. But that Saturday morning, it's the best feeling because you get to wake up and just go play football. You know, it takes you back to, you know, your Little League days where you just wake up, grab a donut, and head out to the gridiron. I mean, and then you go to work. But Harbaugh is very enthusiastic, you know, ready to go. And the players already know what type of attitude to approach game day with. And the tone is already set through that week of practice. So not much else needs to be said. We just need to go out and execute.
So Jibreel, as a player for this game on Saturday, players, would they prefer that 12 noon start, a 3:30, or an evening game?
I can see him leaning more towards the 3:30.
Wow.
Away night games, they're fun, especially you playing in crazy environments. But this game, you want to get with it right now. You want to wake up and not have to wait around all day. Those night games, you got to wait around the hotel till like 7. You wake up and you just there all day. But these 12 o'clock starts, you wake up, you meet with your coach, you go back up there, watch maybe 30 minutes, you meditate, and then it's like
go time.
You're on the bus. I mean, it's 12 o'clock games are a lot of fun. Like I said, you get to wake up and play major college football at the highest level. Nothing like
we were saying here though, as fans, the game starts at 9 a.m. out here at LA. And Jibreel and I are pumped about that. So
we're like excited. I'm like, I'm so excited because we just wake up, grab a coffee, and head out to it.
Eggs and eggs. Right?
When I watch the game Saturday, I don't like anyone in the room. No one really near me. I can't have any distractions. It's just complete focus. So before I give you my prediction, I just want to mention Jibreel. And getting to know you and this great conversation we're having for over an hour here. That from what I hear from Cory, it sounds like you do some acting.
Yeah. I'm actually that's the main reason why I moved out here to LA is to pursue my my dream of becoming an actor. And I moved from Ann Arbor. Actually, was where I was living at before I came out here, and. Yeah, man. Things are lining up, and they're going to continue to line up. And
I also hear from Cory that you do some commentating.
Yeah. So during the timeouts, I'm on the program Fan Nation Army, and we broadcast on YouTube and also Periscope live during each and every timeout, giving in-game analysis, in-game predictions of coming out of the timeout, what Michigan is going to do. We also talk about, we give inside scoops on what's going on, who's injured, who's not injured, who's going to play at quarterback, and a lot of intel stuff that, I can retrieve being being an alum and ex-player from Michigan. So
there's also some humor in there. Jibreel does some drawings on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Well, I want to Jibreel, just like I extended to my friend Cory, I want to extend to you that my vision always of this show is to keep it real, full transparency, keep it inspiring and educational, and I also like to have humor. And so, once again, this is my show, and we could do whatever we want. And I just want to extend to you that I hope in the future it doesn't necessarily have to be the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. I want to extend to you whether you want to come on and co-anchor with me once in a while, like I extended to Cory, and any subjects, topics, or any guests we want to do mutual shows like this, that you've got an open invitation.
For sure, Dean, and just a little humor right here.
Well, let's hear. Joke. We'd love to hear. You could tell. You could tell more than one joke if you want, but go ahead.
So the beautiful thing about going to Michigan, when you go to Penn State, you leave there a nitty line. When you go to Florida, you leave there a gator. When you go to Alabama, you leave there an elephant. When you go to Ohio State, you leave there a buckeye. But when you leave the University of Michigan, you leave a Michigan man. And it doesn't get any better than that. So I just thought I'd leave.
I agree with you.
Set the tone with that. Buckeyes versus Michigan.
You bet. I know what's going to happen, Cory. I'm going to get a phone call from Andrew Markinson that he needed to be. Forget about Nick Mangold. Yeah. Markinson's going to say that he should have been on this show with Mike Jehle. That's what
Markinson and I have had plenty of good discussions like this, and it usually ends with me asking Andrew this one question. Andrew, what do you do when the Ohio State grad shows up at your door? Pay him for the pizza.
That's funny. So listen, Jibreel, you mentioned humor. I mean, is there a classic in your career at Michigan? Is there a classic, another funny story that you could share? And is there more of a classic funny story and a serious story? Both, balance both.
Classic funny story has to definitely go to the funniest coach of all time, and he goes by the name of Rich Rodriguez. Anyone who knows Rich Rod knows that he is one of the funniest guys in America. So we're playing Notre Dame, and this is the game where Denard rushes for Heisman numbers. He was projected to win the Heisman after this game.
Right.
So before the game, we're heading out to the field, and Coach Rod always gives us a pep talk. So Coach Rod goes on there. He's like, "We're gonna kick their butt in all phases of the ball. Kickoff, special teams, you're going to set the tone. Offense, we're going to run the score up. And defense, they're not going to gain a yard. You stop that running back in the backfield, you hit him till he can't get up anymore. And if Coach Kelly wants to see me on the Stairmaster after this game, I'll kick his ass in that too."
That was great.
And we're just looking at him, we're dying laughing, like, let's go. But we're also like super pumped up and ready to get after it. So Coach Rod, one of the funniest coaches. I don't know if him and Coach Kelly ever went at it on the Stairmaster.
I'm not so sure the student body and the fans and all the alumni. I'm not so sure that they found Rich Rod too funny during his career at Michigan.
Nobody else.
I think they couldn't wait for him to get out of town and depart.
Yeah, nobody really liked, but nonetheless, he was a good guy. He had his ways, but he was pretty funny. A serious story. Let's see. I guess it would have to be. Being on both sides, a winning team and a losing team. I guess it would. A serious story would be more, but it was still funny to us at the time. And when you're on a losing team, it's so much pressure on the coaching staff and everybody else, which is understood because, their jobs are at stake and that's how they feed their family. But our strength coach, Aaron Wellman, I'll never forget. I think we were coming off a loss. It wasn't a bad loss. I think we lost to Iowa in a close one. And, we're walking in. I think I'm a sophomore at the time. And I'm just talking. We're talking amongst my teammates. I think it's like me, Denard, and Devin. We just got out of class. And Aaron Wellman is waiting right at the doors of the indoor facility. And he see us like laughing. He kind of gives us this stare like, "How dare you laugh?" So he doesn't say anything to us then. But then, lo and behold, he's known for calling people out. So we go in for the workout. He's like, "Hey, I just want to say something. You got guys laughing and smiling after a loss?" And everybody's like looking around. And then me, Denard, and Devin look at each other like, I knew he was going to say something. He's like, "We got Devin, we got Denard, we got Jibreel Black laughing and smiling. What's so funny? What's so funny about losing?" And then he just starts to rip us like for 10 minutes about laughing after a loss. So, it was serious in his eyes. And then afterwards, we kind of laughed it off. But, rules.
Great stories, Jibreel. So as looking at the time as we're bringing this show to a close, my prediction is, it's been a very long time since Michigan has won in Columbus. And as I said earlier in the show, that the freshman group on both sides probably were 2-3 years old when they last won in Columbus. So that's
crazy.
That's really crazy when you look at it that way. So I'm expecting the Michigan defense to be all over their game, play their best game that they've played of the year. I believe you're going to see the defense turnovers happen and Michigan Michigan is going to prevail with a final score in Columbus, 24-20. That's my
just fine with that.
That's my prediction. Now, Cory, on that note, I think you want to bring something into this show that gets our adrenaline going, and
I'll leave you with
it's all yours. Before as we do that, I'll make my final comments.
Yeah, I just want to say also, Mike, it's been a pleasure meeting you and talking with you. Jibreel, thank you for being here with me, and Dean, on behalf of both of us, thank you so much. This is, it's fun. We're talking football. We're having a blast. We're emotional. So I'll leave you with a fun fact and a little jingle.
And then after it's over, I'm going to make my closing comments as well, and thank you guys as well.
So a lot of times on ESPN, you'll hear, rankings, best songs in college football, best traditions in college football. And on that tradition list are always things like Howard's Rock at Clemson, touching the Engo Club banner in Ann Arbor. And always number one on that list, usually, is Script, Ohio, where, the marching band in Ohio spells out in cursive Ohio. And the biggest honor is, one of the tuba players dotting the I. Mm-hmm. And I just want you to know that tradition was actually created by the Michigan Marching Band welcoming the Buckeyes to the Big House. So that tradition Ohio State is so proud of.
Mike's laughing.
On that note, Dean, I'll leave you with something I've done in the Big House. I did at my wedding, and I do every weekend in LA. It goes a little something
It's all yours, Cory.
Go blue! Go blue! Go blue! Go blue!
All yours, Dean.
That was awesome. That was really great. That was really very... How'd you like that, Mike? You kept laughing, huh?
I've heard better.
Yeah? Well, listen, on that note, this was a very special night here tonight, and I want to thank you, Mike Jehle. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me
I know
on the
that
show.
the guys in L.A. were a little bit more dominant, but you held your own. You were okay.
All right. Thanks.
But as you know, it's Go Blue. 24-20, big Michigan game. It's going to be the first time in a long time I'm not sick to my stomach. And Michigan's going to prevail on Saturday. I want to thank Jibreel Black. Thank you very much I know how busy you are, and trust me, you're a legend and a great guy. And I thank you so much for being on my show. Really do.
Thank you.
Cory, I love you, and what can I say about you? You're a legend in your own, and I wish you lots of luck in Beverly Hills with your real estate business over at Douglas Elliman. And guys, this was just a super show, and I just want to say to all my listeners that to please like us on Facebook, go to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the show's YouTube channel. You could write to me directly at dean@deanblechman.com if you want to be on the show, if you have anything to say. But really, it's been a great show, and I just want to say I want to thank all my listeners for being with us today. From all of us at the Dean Blechman Show, have a great day and evening, and Go Blue. Big win on Saturday, 24-0.
Go Bucks.
Take care, guys.
All right, Dean.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
You've been listening to The Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island, New York. From all of us here, we'd like to thank you for tuning in. We look forward to hearing your comments via Facebook, Twitter, Skype, and email. And don't forget, you can visit the webpage anytime for the up-and-coming guest list. From all of us here, have a good evening.